The deep space survey vessel Horizon's Eye drifted silently through the black ocean of space, its silver hull glinting faintly in the distant light of unfamiliar stars. The crew, a mix of alien scientists and military observers from the Galactic Council, had been traveling for weeks, chasing a single mysterious signal that no one could explain. It was faint, almost like an echo from another time, but its energy readings were far too strong to be ignored. From the moment they first detected it, the signal had puzzled the best minds in the Council. It pulsed in a rhythm, like a heartbeat, yet the technology required to generate such a pattern was unlike anything in their databases. Some said it might be a lost probe from the early expansion days. Others whispered about ancient civilizations that had disappeared before the Council even existed. Whatever it was, it came from a system marked as uncharted, a place no one had visited in official records. As the Horizon's Eye approached the source, the crew's viewports revealed a yellow sun, warm and familiar. Orbiting it were several planets, one of them covered in blue oceans and green landmasses. The scanners confirmed it. This was Earth, the homeworld of humanity. The aliens exchanged quiet glances. Humanity was a young species by Council standards, but known for being stubborn, resourceful, and strangely secretive. They had joined the Council decades ago, but shared little about their history. No one had expected the strange signal to lead here. Captain Zera, a tall, insectoid officer with shimmering carapace, gave the order to enter orbit. The ship's engines hummed as they slowed their approach. Below them, Earth looked peaceful. Cities glittered like tiny stars in the night. Clouds curled gently over the seas. It seemed like an ordinary world. But something about the signal, still pulsing faintly in the background, made the crew uneasy. The first transmission from Earth came quickly. A calm human voice greeted them, welcoming them to the Sol system. The message was polite, warm, even, but oddly brief. When Captain Zera requested permission to investigate the source of the signal, the human voice hesitated for the smallest fraction of a second before replying. "We will arrange a meeting. Please remain in orbit." The crew followed protocol, maintaining a respectful distance above the planet. While they waited, the Council scientists began scanning the area. Their instruments picked up strange shapes in orbit, massive structures barely visible against the blackness of space. They had no standard beacon signals, no registration codes. They were just there, silent and still, almost like shadows. Lieutenant Sarav, the ship's tactical officer, leaned closer to his display. "Those are big. Very big," he muttered. His calculations suggested each one was over 2 kilometers in length, yet their heat signatures were minimal, as if they were sleeping. When the captain asked the humans about these structures, the reply was casual. "Weather stations. Nothing more." The crew exchanged looks. Weather stations that size? That could hide from scanners? No one believed it. Night fell over the part of Earth beneath their orbit, but the alien crew didn't rest. The Horizon's Eye's passive sensors recorded the weather stations moving. Slowly, silently, their dark hulls glided through space, shifting position with a grace no civilian platform could achieve. The motion was deliberate, controlled, like pieces in a game of strategy. One of the younger scientists, a small amphibian named Lure, whispered in the lab, "These aren't stations. They're ships, warships." His voice trembled. The data supported his claim. Dense armored hulls, shielded energy cores, weapon mounts carefully hidden under plating. And the strangest reading of all, the material of the hulls was older than any known human construction, older, even, than the oldest empires in the Galactic Council. By the time the human delegation boarded the Horizon's Eye the next day, the alien crew had far more questions than answers. The human representatives wore formal uniforms and polite smiles. They spoke about friendship, cooperation, and the importance of respecting planetary sovereignty. Every question about the signal or the ships in orbit was met with the same response: classified national security matter. Captain Zera studied the humans carefully. They did not look nervous. They did not look defensive. If anything, they looked amused, as if they knew a secret too large to share. After the meeting, the council crew returned to their posts, but the air on the bridge was heavy. The mysterious signal continued its steady pulse, like a heartbeat in the void, somewhere among those dark shapes drifting above Earth. The truth waited, hidden. Lieutenant Sarav stared at the largest of the black silhouettes, barely visible against the stars. He imagined the sound it might make if it woke. If its engines lit up for the first time in centuries. He didn't know why, but a part of him felt that if these ships ever moved with purpose, the entire galaxy would notice, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Horizon's eye continued its silent watch. Earth turned slowly beneath them. The warships, if that's what they truly were, drifted like sleeping giants. And humanity, calm and smiling, acted as though there was nothing unusual at all. The pulse of the signal quickened. Just slightly. The alien crew didn't know if it was a warning or an invitation. They only knew one thing for certain. Whatever humanity was hiding, it was old, it was powerful, and it had just noticed them. Asterisk. The council team aboard the Horizon's Eye had spent the entire night reviewing their scans again and again. Each pass confirmed the same thing. Those so-called weather stations were built for war, not for climate monitoring. Their armored frames, hidden weapon mounts, and strange power signatures were far beyond anything humanity had shown the council. Captain Zara stood on the bridge, mandibles tight with unease. The humans' warm smiles from the day before lingered in her mind, but now they felt less like hospitality and more like a carefully drawn curtain. They were hiding something vast. The question was why. Lieutenant Sarav had been quiet for most of the shift. His eyes never left the dark shapes drifting against the stars. Finally, he spoke. "Captain, they're moving again." On the main display, the shadow ships adjusted their positions by fractions of a degree. Each movement was slow, precise, deliberate. No lights, no signals, no engine flare. Yet they shifted as though space itself carried them. The formation they took was strange, almost ceremonial. "Are they preparing for something?" asked Lure, the amphibian scientist. His voice was low, as if speaking too loudly might draw attention. Zara didn't answer. She knew one thing. This was no civilian action. Civilian platforms didn't silently form attack lines at 0300 hours. Ship time. A request came from Earth's surface. The humans invited the team to visit a ground installation to better understand our weather technology. The captain considered declining, but council protocols demanded diplomacy. They descended in a shuttle, passing through the thick white clouds of Earth's upper atmosphere. The sight below was breathtaking. Wide blue oceans, forests that stretched to the horizon, shining cities that seemed peaceful and ordinary. But then Zara noticed something odd in the coastal waters near the landing site. She saw shapes beneath the surface, enormous silhouettes too straight and symmetrical to be natural. Submersibles? Sarav muttered, watching the ocean's surface ripple as the shuttle passed. Asterisk. They landed at a sprawling coastal complex where the humans greeted them with that same unsettling friendliness. The leader was a tall man in a dark uniform, his insignia unfamiliar to the alien crew. He introduced himself simply as Admiral Rhodes. His handshake was firm, his eyes steady. "Welcome," he said. "We're glad you came. There's nothing to fear here. I promise you'll find our operations quite ordinary." The tour began. The humans showed them rooms filled with weather instruments, meteorology labs, and training halls. It all looked convincing enough, except every alien in the group could feel the weight of security eyes on them. Guards in dark armor stood at every turn. At one point, Lure lingered near a sealed door marked "Authorized Personnel Only." He tilted his head, hearing a deep, rhythmic hum from beyond it. It wasn't machinery for weather prediction. It sounded like a reactor core. Before he could ask, a human escort politely but firmly guided him back to the group. By the end of the tour, They had seen nothing that could explain the black ships in orbit. It was all surface level, controlled, carefully chosen. When the shuttle returned them to the horizon's eye, the crew immediately ran another scan of the orbital shadows. That's when they noticed something alarming. One of the largest ships had shifted into a lower orbit, passing within a few hundred kilometers of their position. The alien sensors picked up an energy spike, a brief, almost imperceptible surge before fading. Was that a scan? Asked Sarav. It was a test, Zara replied quietly. They were measuring us. The council crew decided to request one more formal scan of the stations in the name of scientific cooperation. The humans' reply came within minutes. Polite as always, but firm. Denied. These facilities are not subject to foreign inspection. We appreciate your interest. That same night, Lure discovered something buried deep in the pulse signal they had been tracking. It wasn't random noise. It was coded. A repeating pattern that matched an old distress call used by lost exploration fleets centuries ago. But this one was altered. It didn't say help, it said ready. When they decoded the signal's full sequence, the room fell silent. The message read, "Systems at 98%. Stand by for activation." The timestamp on the transmission? Over 6,000 years old. How is that possible? Sarav asked. Humanity isn't that old. Their recorded civilization doesn't go back that far. Zara's claws tapped against the console. Unless. These ships weren't built by humanity, she said. They inherited them. No one slept. Every movement from the black ships was logged. Every fluctuation in the signal was analyzed. The crew's unease grew with every passing hour. The humans, meanwhile, made no threatening moves. They continued sending warm messages of cooperation. But the next morning, without warning, the black ships shifted again, this time into a defensive ring around Earth. Their positions were perfect. Overlapping fields of fire, wide arcs of control. It was a formation that only a battle fleet would use. On the bridge, the crew stared at the display. It was clear now. The humans weren't just guarding their planet. They were demonstrating something. A quiet, wordless statement of power. Zira exhaled slowly. They know we're watching. And they want us to understand exactly what they can do. The Horizon's eye was still in orbit, but the captain now felt more like a guest trapped inside a fortress than an investigator in open space. Every black shape out there was awake, even if its engines were quiet. The crew didn't know it yet, but the game had already begun, and humanity, calm and smiling as ever, had just moved their first piece. The days passed slowly aboard the Horizons. But tension kept every alien on edge. The council crew had learned one thing. The humans would give answers only when it suited them. And only the answers they wanted heard. That strange heartbeat signal still pulsed in the background. Steady and patient, Captain Zara sat in the strategy room. Staring at the recorded scans of the black warships, she traced the outlines with a claw. Noting the strange geometry, the hull plating was smooth, seamless without the rivets, welds, or modular construction used in modern shipbuilding. The curves were unnatural, almost organic. She had seen this kind of craftsmanship only in recovered ruins from civilizations long vanished. Lure entered with a small datapad clutched tightly in his webbed hands. "Captain, I think I found something," he said. His voice was shaking. But it wasn't fear, it was excitement. He placed the pad on the table and projected an image. Into the air, it was a stone tablet covered in markings. The translation file identified it as an artifact from Earth's pre-industrial age. Found in a coastal ruin, the carvings depicted massive shapes in the sky, larger than mountains, with trails of light pouring from their tails. Beneath them, human figures stood with arms raised, not in fear, but in reverence. This carving is over 12,000 years old, Lure explained. It predates human written history, and look at the ship design. Smooth curves, seamless hulls. The exact same proportions as the black ships in orbit, Sarav leaned closer. "You're telling me humans had contact with these ships before they even invented the wheel?" "Not just contact," Lure said. lowering his voice. "Worship. These ships were gods to them." The idea hung in the air like smoke, if it was true. Then humanity had known about these vessels for millennia, maybe even before they were capable of understanding what they were. Zara called for the ship's historian, an elderly scholar named Dross Volume. The old scholar took one look at the carving and frowned deeply. "I've seen this before, not from Earth, from the ruins on Akari Prime, from the glass towers of Thufra, from the crystal archives of Viren IV. The style is the same, the first builders." Everyone in the room froze. The first builders were a mystery that haunted the galaxy's oldest records. They were said to have vanished before the first modern empires rose, leaving behind only fragments of impossible machines and silent cities carved into asteroids. Every attempt to uncover their full story had ended in dead ends. If these are first builder ships, Dross Volume continued, then they are far older than any empire, including the Council itself. And if humanity controls them, they hold the last intact fleet of that age. Before anyone could speak, the signal pulsed again. Stronger this time, the message changed. Its tone was lower, heavier, like a voice resonating through metal. The translator struggled with the distortion, but one phrase came through clearly, awaiting command. The crew exchanged looks. If the ships were waiting for orders, who had the authority to give them? Humanity, or someone or something else entirely? Driven by urgency, Zara requested access to Earth's oldest historical archives under the pretense of cultural exchange. The humans agreed, but only to a limited selection. Most files older than a few hundred years were locked behind layers of security. Still, the fragments they were given were enough to spark more questions. One file contained a faded photograph of a desert excavation from centuries ago. Half buried in the sand was a colossal metallic structure, the corner of a smooth, black hull. The caption read, "Site abandoned by order of the High Council. Relocated to secure facility." There was no explanation of where the secure facility was. Another file was stranger, a scanned page from a human sailor's journal. Dated in the age of wooden ships, the sailor described a black island that rose from the sea during a storm, towering above his vessel. He claimed it hummed like a living creature before sinking silently beneath the waves. It became clear the warships weren't just in orbit. They had been on Earth, under Earth, and perhaps even beneath its oceans, for longer than humanity's own recorded memory. The tension broke when an unexpected development hit the bridge. One of the black ships had moved into geosynchronous orbit directly above their position. Its vast shape filled the observation screens, blotting out a section of the stars. No weapons were active, but its presence felt like a silent warning. "This is intimidation," Sarav said, his voice hard. "No," Zara replied. "This is a reminder." They tried hailing the ship, but there was no reply from the vessel itself, only from Earth. Admiral Rhodes appeared on the screen, smiling faintly. "We noticed your interest in our stations. Captain, we appreciate your curiosity, but I must remind you that some knowledge is burdensome. Once learned, it cannot be unlearned." It was a polite dismissal, but the message was clear. "Back off." When the transmission ended, Lure muttered, "They're not just hiding weapons, they're hiding history." The more they learned, the more the pieces formed a dangerous picture. Humanity wasn't just guarding these ships. They had integrated them into their culture, their military, maybe even their identity. The secrecy wasn't just about power. It was about protecting something ancient, something the rest of the galaxy might try to seize. As the day ended, the signal shifted again. This time, there was a second pulse, faint but distinct, coming from beyond the Sol system. The pattern matched the one from Earth's orbit, only weaker, older. As if another ancient ship was calling out across the void. Zara knew then that this mystery wasn't limited to Earth. If there were more of these first builder warships scattered across the galaxy, and if humanity was the only one who could control them, the balance of power was about to change. Far below, on the surface of Earth, The oceans moved with the tides. Cities glittered in the night, and in orbit, the black ships waited. Silent and patient, their ancient hulls caught the faint light of the sun, and for a moment, it almost looked like they were smiling. The horizon's eye floated in high orbit, but the alien crew no longer saw Earth as a simple blue-green world. It felt like a fortress wrapped in oceans and clouds, guarded by silent giants. Every time one of the black warships drifted across the viewports, the air on the bridge grew heavier, as if their very presence pressed against the minds of the minds of the minds of the minds of uns. Crew, Captain Zara had been reviewing the latest scans when a priority transmission from the Galactic Council arrived. The message was brief: gather intelligence. Avoid provocation. The Council's tone was calm, but Zara could read the fear behind the words. They suspected humanity's secret was real, but they wanted proof. Before the captain could issue new orders, a small alert chimed on the bridge. Lieutenant Sarav's sensors had detected a shift. One of the largest warships, a long, dagger-shaped vessel, was moving, not drifting this time, but gliding with intent. Its vector placed it on an intercept path toward the horizon's eye. The alien crew exchanged uneasy glances. "They're coming to meet us," Sarav said, his voice low. "Or to warn us," Zara replied. The black warship approached without transmitting any signal. Its surface was smooth and seamless, absorbing most of the sunlight. Occasionally, faint lines of silver light pulsed along its hull, like veins carrying energy. The ship stopped a short distance away, close enough for the alien crew to feel its size. It wasn't just big, it was overwhelming, as though they were staring at a piece of a long-dead star. The comms channel crackled to life, and the human voice of Admiral Rhodes filled the bridge. His tone was still polite, but there was steel beneath it. "Captain Zara, we've noticed your scans have grown persistent. I'm here to remind you that the safety of our people and our assets is our highest priority." "Your assets appear to be warships," Zara said carefully, keeping her voice neutral. "Older than any human technology, perhaps older than the Council itself." There was a pause, then the faint sound of Rhodes' amused exhale. "Perhaps, but their age is irrelevant. What matters is that they are under our control." Zara considered her next words, but before she could respond, the signal from the black ship shifted. A low hum filled the horizon's eye's audio systems. It wasn't loud, but it seemed to vibrate in their bones. The sensors spiked. The warship had just activated something deep within its core, yet no weapons powered up, no shields flared. It was a presence, a reminder of capability without a single shot fired. "Captain," Luer whispered from the science station, "they've locked onto our exact shield frequency without scanning us. That was impossible, yet here it was. The warship could dismantle them in seconds, and it was making sure they knew it. Is this intimidation?" Zara asked the Admiral directly. "No," Rhodes replied. "This is context." The transmission ended, and the black ship slowly pulled away, resuming its silent orbit as though nothing had happened. But the message was clear. Humanity's warships were not asleep, and they were watching everything. Back in the strategy room, the senior officers debated their next move. Sarav wanted to retreat and send their findings to the Council immediately. Luer argued for staying longer to uncover the truth about the First Builder connection. Zara listened but said nothing until the room fell quiet. "If we leave now, we return with fear and rumor," she said. "If we stay, we might find proof, or we might vanish. But the Council sent us here for answers, not guesses." It was decided they would stay, but operate with extreme caution. No more active scans, only passive observation. That night cycle, the crew detected something strange. The warships were moving again, all of them this time. Hundreds of dark silhouettes shifted into a vast ring around Earth. Their formation was mathematically perfect, overlapping fields of fire and defense. It was a configuration the Council used only for planetary siege operations. The bridge fell silent as the sight filled the main display. There, surrounding their own planet, Serav muttered. Why? Who are they expecting? The answer came sooner than expected. A small, unregistered vessel approached Earth from deep space. Its design was crude and mismatched, the kind used by scavenger clans. The ship didn't respond to hails. Instead, it accelerated toward the planet. Before the Horizon's eye could act, one of the black warships moved. Its hull shimmered with lines of light, and a single beam of white energy lanced out. The scavenger ship vanished in an instant. No explosion, no debris, just gone. The warship returned to formation without a word. That wasn't an attack, Lure said slowly. That was precision removal. A message from Earth arrived moments later. Admiral Rhodes' voice again, calm as ever. That vessel violated our exclusion zone. We take border security seriously. I trust you understand. It wasn't just a warning. It was a demonstration. The black ships weren't just relics. They were fully functional, deadly, and under absolute human command. Later, Zahra stood alone at the viewport, watching the warships glint faintly in the sunlight. She thought about the carving Lure had shown her, about the first builders, about the possibility that humanity hadn't just found these ships, but had been chosen to guard them. If that was true, then perhaps these weapons weren't just for Earth's defense. Perhaps they were part of something far larger. And yet, humanity didn't boast. They didn't threaten. They simply acted when needed, and smiled the rest of the time. It was a quiet power, the kind that didn't need to shout to be heard. On the bridge, the heartbeat signal pulsed again, steady and patient, as if waiting for the next move. The crew didn't know if it was humanity's hand on the switch, or something else entirely, but they knew one thing. Whatever was hidden behind those smiles and polite words was not to be underestimated. Far below, on Earth's surface, Admiral Rhodes stood in a command room lined with ancient metal walls. His eyes scanned holographic displays of the warship formations. In the shadows behind him, massive shapes loomed, dormant vessels, still resting under the oceans and buried deep in the crust, waiting for the day they too would rise. The Horizon's eye broke orbit at dawn, but only slightly. Captain Zahra had ordered the ship to shift to a higher position over the planet's northern hemisphere, claiming it was for thermal calibration. In truth, it was to give the crew a wider angle of observation without appearing to flee. The alien vessel now watched Earth and its silent ring of black warships from a cautious distance. The official report to the Galactic Council was nearly complete, but Zahra hesitated to send it. The data they'd collected wasn't just sensitive, it was dangerous. If the wrong factions within the Council got hold of it, they would see those ancient warships not as a warning, but as a prize. Down on the Council homeworld, whispers were already spreading. Other envoys had caught fragments of the Horizon's Eye's encrypted updates, enough to stir paranoia. Rumors said humanity was sitting on a fleet older than the Council itself, armed with weapons no one could match. Some claimed the ships were gifts from an extinct empire. Others said they were stolen relics. But the most dangerous rumor of all was the simplest, that humanity had no intention of sharing them. In the Grand Chamber of the Council, arguments flared. The representatives of the Krail Dominion and the Tharn Confederacy pressed for immediate action. If this is true, one of them said, then humanity is in possession of a strategic monopoly. We cannot allow a single young species to hold power over the rest of the galaxy. Others urged caution, pointing out that no evidence yet proved the ships were functional, though deep down, they all suspected the truth. On the Horizon's eye, the tension mirrored that of the Council. Serav wanted to send the report and leave. We've seen enough, he said. If we linger, they'll notice we're still here, and they'll start treating us like an enemy. Lure disagreed. We're sitting on the edge of a story the galaxy has never heard. If we leave now, we'll never know how deep it goes. Zahra listened in silence. Her instincts told her that leaving would be safe, but it would also be surrendering the initiative. The humans had been controlling every interaction, every bit of access. If the council wanted real answers, they have to push deeper. But pushing meant risk. The decision was made for her when a new transmission arrived from Earth. This time it wasn't Admiral Rhodes, but a civilian, or at least someone dressed as one. A middle-aged woman with calm eyes and a voice like stone. "Captain Zera, the council has been asking questions. We know what they want, and we know. They sent you to find answers." Zera kept her face neutral. "I am here on a peaceful mission of," the woman interrupted. "Peace is easy when both sides know the cost of war. I am here to make sure you understand that cost." The screen flickered, replaced by a live feed from low orbit over Earth. One of the black warships was moving again, but not alone. Smaller, equally dark shapes emerged from beneath the oceans, breaching the waves like leviathans. Their hulls were the same seamless metal. Their forms different, some shaped like blades, others like massive spines. They rose into the air silently, joining the larger ships in orbit. "These are not all we have," the woman continued. "What you see here is a fraction of the fleet. The rest remain where they have always been, in the deep places of this world, and beyond it, untouched by time. They are not yours to take, not yours to govern, and not yours to question beyond the answers we choose to give." The feed ended without warning, leaving the alien crew in stunned silence. Sarav was the first to speak. "That was a threat." "No," Lure said slowly. "That was a line in the sand." Zera didn't reply. She was still thinking about the phrase "and beyond it." If humanity had ships beyond Earth, in other systems, then the scale of their secret was far greater than anyone suspected. Hours later, a secure ping came from the council relays. It was a direct request from the High Assembly. Confirm number of vessels. Confirm operational status. If possible, acquire technical scans. The order was blunt. They wanted proof before deciding the next move. That night cycle, the Horizon's Eye tried something bold. They dispatched a small probe, cloaked and shielded, programmed to drift close to one of the black ships and collect passive readings. The probe moved silently, slipping through the shadows, inching toward the warship's underbelly. It never reached it. One moment it was there. The next its signal was gone, erased without a trace. No explosion, no interception. Alert, just nothing. The crew didn't need to guess what happened. The humans had let them see exactly enough to understand the truth. Those ships could remove anything from existence without warning. The loss of the probe rattled even Lure. They knew. "Captain," he said quietly, "they knew the moment we launched it, maybe even before." Zera stared at the planet below. The humans weren't trying to hide the fact they were being watched. They wanted the Horizon's Eye to know how closely they were being monitored in return. Back in the council chambers, the debates grew sharper. Some factions were already drafting proposals for a joint investigation fleet. Others were calling for preemptive containment, a polite term for surrounding Earth with armed ships. The more cautious voices warned that if the warships truly were first-builder relics, no modern fleet could stand against them. Zera's final daily report went out in encrypted form, stripped of certain details but heavy with one message: humanity is not bluffing. In her private log, she added a thought she didn't send to the council, that this was not about weapons alone. It was about control of something ancient, something that might decide the future balance of power in the galaxy, and humanity had made it very clear that future would be on their terms. Outside the viewport, the black warships hung in perfect formation. The heartbeat signal pulsed once, steady and patient, as if it knew the council was already arguing, already choosing sides, and somewhere deep in Earth's oceans, more shadows waited for the day they would rise. Asterisk. The Horizon's Eye was still in high orbit when the first flash appeared on the outer edge of the Sol system. It wasn't an explosion, not at first, just a faint glimmer in the darkness, like a distant star winking. Then the sensors screamed with proximity alerts. Something massive had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel, far too close to Earth's territory. On the main display, a council fleet emerged from the void. 37 ships, each bristling with weapons and carrying the banners of 6 different member species. Captain Zara felt her mandibles tighten. This wasn't a diplomatic visit. This was a power play. The Council had decided to come and inspect humanity's secret for themselves. The fleet's commander hailed Earth. His image appeared, a scaled, broad-shouldered Tharn admiral named Corvish. His voice was deep and full of authority. To the representatives of humanity, I am here on behalf of the Galactic Council. To verify claims of unregistered military assets, you will open your orbital facilities to inspection immediately. The reply from Earth was delayed, deliberately so. When it came, it was Admiral Rhodes, standing in a control room lit by the faint glow of tactical displays. His voice was calm. Admiral Vish, welcome to Sol. I regret to inform you that our orbital facilities are not open to inspection by foreign militaries. Kor's reptilian eyes narrowed. You misunderstand. This is not a request. Rhodes tilted his head slightly, as though the thought amused him. No, Admiral. It is you who misunderstands. Your fleet is inside our exclusion zone without clearance. I will give you one opportunity to withdraw. The Tharn Admiral's jaw tightened. And if I do not? Rhodes didn't answer with words. Instead, the black ships began to move, one by one. The ancient warships decloaked, sliding out from the darkness like predators revealing themselves. The largest of them, a towering spear-shaped vessel 3 kilometers long, rotated until its prow faced directly at the Council fleet. The Horizon's Eye's sensors went wild. Energy readings spiked off the scale, not in bursts, but as a steady, immense current, like a sleeping star rousing from its slumber. Lure whispered from the science station. Their cores are active. All of them, on the Council fleet's comms. Several captains were shouting for scans. Corvish's voice cut through, demanding calm. But the unease was spreading fast. These weren't ceremonial ships. These weren't museum pieces. They were fully operational. And every one of them was older than the empires that had sent their fleets here. Rhodes's voice returned, almost casual. Admiral, these ships have been here long before your council existed. And they will remain long after. You will leave Sol, or you will learn why no one has ever tried to take them from us. The Tharn commander tried to project strength, but hesitation bled into his tone. You cannot expect us to. A beam of pure light erupted from the spear-shaped warship. It wasn't like modern energy weapons. There was no visible buildup, no crackle of power, just a single instantaneous lance of brilliance that crossed the void and struck the Council fleets. Lead cruiser. When the light vanished, the cruiser was simply gone, not destroyed in a fiery blast, not broken into debris, gone, as though erased from existence. The space it had occupied was now empty and silent. The Council fleet froze, engines idled, weapons stayed cold. Every captain now understood exactly what they faced. Rhodes's voice was calm, almost kind. That was not an attack, that was removal. It could have been any of you, and it could still be. The silence stretched across the channels. Then, one by one, the Council ships began turning away. No further threats, no demands, just retreat. Within minutes, the fleet was gone, vanishing back into faster-than-light space. Only the Horizon's Eye remained, holding its careful position on the bridge. No one spoke for several moments. The reality of what they had witnessed settled over them like a weight. Finally, Sarav broke the silence. That wasn't just a show of force, that was a message to the entire galaxy. Zara nodded slowly. They wanted the Council to see, they wanted everyone to see. Later that cycle, Rhodes sent a short, direct transmission to the Horizon's Eye. His tone was still polite. Captain Zara, you may send your report. But understand this, what you witnessed today was restraint. Not all who come uninvited will leave as easily. The transmission ended without farewell. Lure leaned against his console, eyes fixed on the fading images of the Black Fleet. If those are just the ships they showed us, what are they keeping hidden? Zara didn't answer. She had a feeling the answer was worse than anything in the Council's imagination. The heartbeat signal pulsed again, stronger now, not just from the ships in orbit, but from somewhere deeper, beneath Earth's crust. Maybe even farther below. It was as if the planet itself was part of the fleet. In her private log that night, Zahra wrote one final thought. Humanity does not just own these ships. They are part of something older, something we do not yet understand. And the moment the galaxy forgets that, it will remember the hard way. Far below, under miles of ocean, more shadows stirred, unseen by the stars. Asterisk, the galaxy did not sleep after what happened in Seoul. Within hours of the Council fleet's retreat, every major power received classified intelligence reports, some official, others leaked in whispers through the shadow markets. What they described was unbelievable to some and terrifying to all. Humanity had annihilated a warship with a single shot, and that shot had not been a conventional weapon. The Horizon's Eye stayed in orbit, under strict orders from Captain Zahra to avoid any sudden moves. The crew still felt the echo of the event, that blinding beam, the way the cruiser had simply ceased to exist. The warships now drifted back in their silent formation around Earth, as if nothing had happened, but no one on board could forget. The precision, the quiet finality of it, that morning cycle. A second signal began pulsing alongside the original heartbeat. It was faint, coming from the outer edges of Sol's territory, and its signature was similar. Lure was the first to confirm it. Another first builder vessel. He whispered, "It's out there, far beyond the asteroid belt, and it's awake." Before Zahra could decide whether to investigate, Earth hailed them again. This time, the feed showed not Admiral Rhodes, but the same civilian woman who had warned them before. She wasted no time on greetings. "Captain, you've been here long enough to understand the situation. You will not pursue the signal you just detected." Zahra kept her tone even. "It is Council protocol to investigate unidentified activity." The woman cut her off. "Council protocol does not apply beyond our borders. That vessel is under our protection, like the rest of the fleet." Seraph stepped forward. "Why protect something you've kept hidden for thousands of years? Why keep the galaxy in the dark?" For the first time, the woman's expression hardened, because these ships are not just weapons, they are keys, and keys belong in the hands of those who understand the doors they open. The transmission ended without further explanation. That night, against Zahra's better judgment, the Horizon's Eye altered course to pick up the outer system signal. They moved slowly, sensors sweeping. As they approached the coordinates, the readings grew erratic. The object wasn't drifting, it was waiting. They found it near the frozen rings of a small, nameless planetoid. Half buried in the ice was a ship unlike the others. Its hull was jagged in places, scarred by impacts, but the same seamless. Black metal still shone beneath. Faint lines of blue light traced patterns across its surface. "It's damaged," Lure murmured. "But it's still alive." The moment they began scanning, every alarm on the ship went off at once. A massive energy spike erupted from Earth's direction, and in minutes, 2 of the black warships arrived via instant jump, no faster than light. Signature, no detectable transit path, they simply appeared. One of them positioned itself between the Horizon's Eye and the damaged vessel. Blocking their view, the other transmitted a single message: "Return to your assigned orbit immediately." Seraph's hands clenched into fists. "They're treating us like intruders in their own system. They're treating us like children," Zahra replied, ordering the retreat. Back in high orbit, the crew was restless. The Council had ordered them to confirm numbers and locations. But humanity wasn't just preventing that. They were demonstrating the ability to intercept anywhere in their system instantly, without warning. And then came the real test. A message arrived from the Council's Covert Operations Branch, heavily encrypted. "Acquire control data from one of the ships. Temporary override acceptable. Authorization, black level." It was an outrageous order, not just illegal under Council treaties, but an act of open provocation. Yet the implication was clear. Factions within the council were no longer content with observation. They wanted to own these ships, or at least learn how to turn them against humanity. Zara refused outright, sending back a single-line reply: operational suicide. Still, the idea gnawed at her. If the council was already thinking this way, others would too. It was only a matter of time before someone made the attempt. She didn't have to wait long. 3 cycles later, a rogue fleet belonging to the private armies of the Krail Dominion entered Sol space. Their leader transmitted a fabricated inspection order, claiming to act on behalf of galactic security. Humanity did not reply in words. This time, 6 black warships moved in unison, their hulls lit with lines of deep crimson instead of silver. Their weapons didn't fire beams. They released expanding shockwaves of invisible force. The Krail fleet's shields collapsed instantly, hulls crumpling as if crushed by an unseen hand. Not a single shot from the Dominion vessels was fired. Within 2 minutes, it was over. From the bridge of the Horizon's Eye, the crew watched the black ships return to orbit in perfect formation. Silent once again, they didn't destroy them all, Lure noted. They left survivors. On purpose, Zara said, so they'd go back and tell the story. That was when she understood. Humanity wasn't just defending their secret. They were shaping the narrative. Every move, every strike, every act of restraint was calculated to tell the galaxy one thing: we can end you, but we choose not. To the heartbeat signal pulsed again, steady and calm, as if nothing had happened. But now Zara thought she could hear something else in it. A second rhythm, faint and far away, answering from somewhere beyond the edges of known space. In her log she wrote, "If there are more fleets like this hidden among the stars, and humanity has the keys, then we are already living in their galaxy, not ours, far beneath Earth's oceans." The unseen shadows shifted again, and somewhere deep in the ice of that nameless planetoid, the damaged warship's lights flared brighter, as if it had heard the call. The storm had passed over Sol, but its echo was everywhere, across the galaxy. The story spread faster than light. Humanity had faced down the council, erased a warship, dismantled a Dominion fleet, and done it without losing a single vessel of their own. Some called it arrogance, others called it destiny, but everyone understood one truth: Earth was no longer a junior member of the Galactic Council. It was something else entirely. The Horizon's Eye still lingered in high orbit. Captain Zara's official mission was over. Her report sent in encrypted form to the High Assembly, but she had not been recalled. Whether that was because the Council wanted her to keep watching, or because they were afraid to provoke humanity further, she couldn't say. Below, Earth's surface looked peaceful, the cities bright, the oceans calm. But Zara knew better. Beneath those waters slept warships as old as civilization itself. In orbit, the Black Fleet hung in its perfect formation, their dark hulls swallowing the starlight. Patient as stone, the heartbeat signal still pulsed. But now it was joined by others, faint echoes from deep space. Lure's analysis confirmed what Zara had feared. These signals were not random. They were coming from other systems, other hidden fleets, and each one was speaking the same phrase. In the ancient First Builder Code, awaiting command, humanity hadn't just inherited a fleet. They'd inherited an empire's arsenal, scattered across the galaxy like buried treasure. If those ships answered only to them, then the balance of power was no longer a question of politics. It was a matter of survival. 2 days later, Admiral Rhodes contacted the Horizon's Eye. His face was as calm as ever, but the background had changed. No longer the bright, open command room she'd seen before. This time he stood in a dimly lit hall of metal and shadow. Behind him loomed a shape so large it filled the frame, a curved hull of seamless black alloy, its surface alive with faint lines of light. "You've seen enough to understand," Rhodes said, "but there's something you haven't grasped yet, Captain. These ships were not meant for conquest. They were meant for guardianship." "Guardianship of what?" Zara asked. "Of the galaxy," Rhodes replied simply. Long before your council, long before most of your worlds had names, there were things in the dark, threats even the first builders could not destroy. They built these fleets not as weapons of war, but as shields against extinction. His gaze sharpened. That time will come again, and when it does, these ships will be needed. They will answer only to those who have been tested. That test is why they were left with us. It was an explanation, but it was also a claim. Humanity saw themselves as the rightful heirs to this responsibility, and they were not going to share it. You're saying the council doesn't deserve them? Zara said carefully. I'm saying the council isn't ready, Rhodes replied, and the transmission ended. The next weeks were a tense stalemate. Council envoys tried to re-establish diplomacy, sending carefully worded messages about joint stewardship and cooperative defense, but humanity responded with the same polite refusal each time. Meanwhile, Council military intelligence scrambled to assess just how many more fleets like Sol's might exist. The answer they kept finding, too many to control, only deepened the unease. Then came the shift. Without warning, the largest of the black warships in orbit around Earth broke formation. Its engines lit for the first time in recorded history, sending ripples of distortion through space as it accelerated toward the edge of the system. One by one, other ships followed, not all, but enough to matter. The horizon's eye tracked their course. They were heading toward a set of uncharted coordinates beyond the galactic rim, straight toward one of the faint heartbeat echoes Lure had mapped. What are they doing? Sarav asked, eyes fixed on the display. They're answering a call, Zara said. The council demanded that the horizon's eye follow, but Zara refused. It wasn't fear of the Black Fleet's weapons. It was the growing awareness that this wasn't her story to write. Humanity wasn't hiding their strength anymore. They were moving, acting, preparing for something larger than the council could comprehend. Weeks later, the missing warships returned. Their hulls bore fresh markings, not battle damage but new lines of glowing script in the same first builder language. When asked about it, Rhodes only smiled. They have been awakened. From that day forward, the Black Fleet was no longer entirely in orbit. Some ships remained hidden under the oceans, others in the dark between planets, and others still vanished into deep space for weeks at a time, returning without explanation. The galaxy adjusted. Quickly, trade with Earth increased, not because of friendship, but because no one wanted to risk hostility. The Council stopped sending military ships into Sol without an explicit invitation, and border patrols gave human vessels a wide berth, but the most telling change was in the way people spoke about them. They were no longer the humans from Earth. They were the custodians, guardians of a power older than empires, keepers of fleets that could erase a world without leaving debris. On the horizon's eye, Captain Zara recorded her final private entry before leaving Sol. We came here thinking humanity had a secret worth stealing. We leave knowing they have a burden no one else is prepared to carry. If they fail, we will all fall, and if they succeed, the galaxy will never forget who saved it. Far below, the oceans whispered against the shore. In the deep, unseen hangars lit by pale light, more ships waited in the dark, silent but awake. And far beyond the galaxy's edge, something else stirred. In answer to the heartbeat, slow and patient, the test humanity spoke of was coming. And when it did, the Black Fleet would rise,